Well, no, not really. What I've done is done my job. You'd be disappointed. In fact, I'm a bit disappointed that I've been the only one. I warned Helen Clark, I warned John Key about this matter some months ago. They chose not to act. I did. I think it's important. I know the people of Epsom and I know the people right through New Zealand, whether they support ACT or National or Labour, they actually do believe that there should be standards set. And someone has to be asking the questions and actually laying the complaint. Well, I've done that. I don't shy away from it.
Has the old Rodney Hyde come back, though?
I hope not.
Why?
Why not? Well, I think it's important as a politician to have a good motive. And when I first turned up to Parliament, I found it a very bullying culture. People would bully you and threaten you, and I thought, gee, this is a bit rough. And like when you turn up to a school and you're a third form boy and the sixth formers pick on you, I learned to respond and become a bully myself. What I found about that is it actually makes you feel less of yourself and you don't feel good about politics. I've gone back since I've been the MP for Epsom and I said, okay, now I want to be a good parliamentarian, and each time I do something, particularly when I've laid these complaints against Winston Peters and New Zealand First, I've asked myself, what is the motive? And my motive isn't actually to attack Winston Peters. My motive is actually to demand honest government and our MPs and our ministers comply with the law, just like I would if I saw someone running down the street and they pinched a lady's purse.
Let's talk about your 20-point plan. You say you want to cut spending by between $3 and $5 billion. You say you will achieve that by getting rid of some government departments. Now, you're on the record saying you would get rid of Women's Affairs, Pacific Island Affairs, Youth Affairs and the Families Commission.
It's a good start, yeah.
That's a good start, right. They collectively cost the taxpayer $33 million a year. What else are you going to cut? Or what other government departments are you going to get rid of to achieve that at least $3 billion?
I'm not going to sit here and say that department, that department, that department.
Why won't you? Because you already have started those.
Sure. When I was asked, I said, well, here's a couple. But the key point...
Are there any others? Let me ask you that question.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and name them, but the key point...
Why not? Why won't you tell us?
Because I'm explaining to you how the policy works.
Well, my original question, though, was, are you going to get rid of any other government departments?
Not on top of my mind, and not that I'm going to announce it right now, but what I will tell you is that we want to establish a taxpayer rights bill. That's why we've drafted the legislation. That's why it's number one of our 20 points. We need to get better value. It's your money and your audience's money that's being spent. It is actually being wasted. The way to get better spending...
You say that one of your main objectives is to get Roger Douglas into Cabinet as Finance Minister. That's not going to happen under a John Key-led government, though, is it?
No, it doesn't seem to be that way, and I think that's quite sad and disappointing. But my goal is to campaign, get as many party votes as I can, and certainly get ACT and Roger Douglas around the cabinet table, because that's where the decisions get made. That'll be up to the voters, and I'm sure, you know, under MMP John Key will have to accept if ACT gets, you know, a significant chunk, they'll have to come and talk to us. I hope that'll be the case.
What about yourself? Do you want to be a cabinet minister?
Yes, I'd love to be in cabinet. I think that would be, I think it's everyone's aspiration when they come to Parliament to make a big difference, and that's where you could make a big difference. I'd particularly like to have a role in education.
Have you ever considered quitting politics?
Yes.
When and why?
I think it's important, whatever you do, to, you know, evaluate. So I, you know, literally get up and think, am I making progress? Am I making a contribution? Is this the best thing that I can be doing, you know, with my life, and not getting stale? I think people get stale in their jobs. And so there have been times when I felt that I wasn't making a difference, that I had got stale and cynical and sick of it. And at times like that, I've actually made a decision not to stand. Funnily enough, what's happened then is I've relaxed and actually achieved quite a bit in politics and got my energy back. I have to say, winning the seat of Epsom was very energising, because I put my energy into being the best MP I could be for Epsom. And I'd never thought about politics in that way. I'd thought about the other jobs that I've done. How can I be the best truck driver or the best lecturer or the best person working for the company? But when I went into politics, I just thought of politics as sort of some in poor disregard. And so I had a low opinion of myself. But when I became the MP for Epsom and I thought of these people voting for me, I thought, gee, how can I be the best MP for these people? And then I started to enjoy it and appreciate it. And likewise, I started to think, well, how can I have the best party? How can we have the best set of policies? How do I get the best candidates? How can I do the best for my country? And I hadn't been previously thinking about it in those terms, which is quite sad.
How long do you think Rodney Hyde will stay in politics?
I don't know the answer to that. You know, I always have thoughts about what else I could do, because I think there's nothing sadder than watching MPs clutch onto power or clutch onto their position or anyone in their job. I think it's important that you think, yes, no, I can do other things, and I'm trying to build up the ACT Party so that there will be a proper succession. I'm very conscious of MMP parties that if they have a leader with just one seat, it can become a personality cult. That person has too much power, too much say, and I'm very keen that we have that ACT gets more MPs, but more particularly we win other seats over time, so that it's not just all on me and it's not all about the leader.
Well, unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Rodney Hyde, thank you very much and all the very best.
Thank you very much.
Joining me now is the leader and sole MP of the party that bears his name. Welcome to Leaders on 7, Jim Anderton.
Good evening, thank you very much.
Let's begin by clarifying a few things. First of all, are you going to stay with Labour?
As a coalition partner?
As a coalition partner.
Are you seriously suggesting I could join National and ACT?
Well,
there's no alternative.
Because you did say...
One of my former colleagues used to say that about the economy, but there is no alternative for us. Labor's the only coalition partner we can have, and I actually think it's a good thing that parties tell the voting public who their coalition partner is going to be before the election. It means that you don't waste your vote. The worst thing you can do with your vote in an election is give it to somebody who uses it in exactly the opposite way than what you intended. Because there are at least two parties who are saying that they're not declaring before the election who they're going to go with. You're saying it's important. It is important. Well, I think under MMP you get two votes. One for the electorate, the MP that you want to represent you, and that does give people a chance to cast a vote that's not the traditional wasted vote it used to be under the first past the post system, because you can vote for a different MP to represent you than the party you want to represent you, and people in my electorate do. They vote for me in droves for the electorate MP, and they vote for Labour in equal droves for the party vote. Would you stick with Labour if it's not in a position to be able to form a government? Well, there wouldn't be anything to stick to, would there? I mean, a coalition partner in government, but we're an independent political party. I don't go to Labor Party pre-cabinet meetings. I have a pre-cabinet meeting with myself. And if we were in opposition together, I'd be an independent political party just as Labor would be. I'm hoping that I might have one or two more colleagues with me. Because a lot of people say that you are basically fundamentally Labor. Well, they weren't saying that in 1989, I can assure you. They were giving me the exit door for politics. I stood against Labor in a seat they'd held for over 80 years. It was a heartland Labor seat. It was a first past the post system. It was impossible, everyone said, to win a seat under a first past the post system against the party that you had previously been a member of. In fact, I was the first politician to do it in New Zealand political history. So it wasn't, or it couldn't have been easy. Winston and Peter Dunn have done it since. But, you know, first time you climb Everest, it's easy after that. Do you still want to be a cabinet minister? Oh, look, when you go into politics, as I went into a long time ago, you always want to represent your country. You always want to make a difference. You always want to do things for people that you talk about. And unless you're in the government, and you have to accept that sometimes you won't be, but unless you are, you really can't make things happen. I mean, for most of life in opposition, you wrap governments over the knuckles with a wet press release. I mean, basically, when you're sitting around the cabinet table or cabinet committee rooms or meeting your colleagues on a daily basis, or the Prime Minister or the Minister of Finance, you know you can get things done, and it happens daily. So it's quite an exciting business to be in, actually, at that level. Sitting across the other side of the House and baying at the front benches of the government doesn't amuse me much. Tell me